party, put on some clothes and just, you know, like give me a nice like kosher album.
This is a song about it.
Whoa, yeah, swear to God I'm with it. I don't see nobody in my lane that's quite go get it like me. Whoa, please don't be wasting my time with that business. Who you kidding, man? Yeah. Whoa, yeah, swear to God I'm with it. I don't see nobody in my lane that's quite go get it like me. Whoa, please don't be wasting my time.
Shalom Aleichem, it's Meorah, and I wanted to do a video with you guys today to talk about the topic of kosher music and Jewish music and what is or isn't appropriate for a Jew to listen to when it comes to tzniut and just kind of pure good vibes, and just kind of like talking out this issue because it's something that actually came up for me pretty organically today. I was about to turn on a podcast. I generally stick to just kind of clean, clean music, just things that are a lot more positive, and it's something I've really been a lot more purposeful about as of late. I'd say like the last 3 or 4 months since I've really kind of gotten back into my spiritual practice a lot more. Music has definitely been something I've been very aware of as, you know, something that really feeds into our energy essentially. So I'm really trying to stick with like high vibrational energy music, just pure sounds, and just essentially dropping away like a lot of this sort of like negative lyrics and messaging that comes with a lot of the music nowadays. So I've been making a pretty concerted effort to stay away from, you know, the more R-rated, X-rated type of music that I used to listen to. And so anyway, I've essentially refrained from listening to, you know, kind of like hip hop and, you know, rap and that kind of stuff that I used to just really love. So today, something kind of happened which turned into a little bit of a slippery slope back in that direction. I wanted to just kind of like come clean and air it out and talk to you guys about this subject because it's something I'm definitely struggling with, which I imagine that anyone who's sort of aspiring to become a little bit more observant, as I have been, could probably sort of connect to and understand as well. So anyway, so Spotify has been doing this kind of like recap thing for like all the like 2010s decade stuff, and they actually served me today as I was trying to listen to a podcast called Stuff You Should Know, which is a very like wholesome, like, you know, edutainment sort of podcast which I listen to from time to time. So I was about to pop that on, and Spotify suggests to me like Viva Latino presents best of 2010s or something like that. And it's funny, like I actually love listening to Latin music quite a bit, so it sort of served me the Latin music suggestion, and most of that stuff actually on that list is not necessarily, you know, like bad negative music or anything. Definitely like good amount of non-tzniut stuff, but it's not so bad. So anyway, I was like, you know what, it's been like a while since I've listened to sort of secular music and things that are, yeah, just like the music I used to listen to, and I wanted a little bit of a throwback, so I decided like, what the heck, let me sort of pop that list on and see if, you know, I can kind of, I don't know, just like reminisce and listen to some of these songs that I used to listen to. And so I started, you know, playing that music, and I just got so into it, and it was really fun, and I was just like putting on my makeup and listening to this music, and it was like a moment where, you know, suddenly it felt so authentic to me, because it's like, you know, that's kind of like my vibe. It's stuff that I really missed listening to. And, you know, after that, it turned into a little bit of a slippery slope, because I just felt like, you know what, like this feels like so authentic to me. And, you know, a lot of my spiritual practice has been so much about becoming truer to myself and dropping things that don't exactly resonate with who I am and what I want to be and all that. So it was kind of like an odd, like at odds moment where, you know, here was this, you know, like here was like this music that I, you know, kind of tried not to listen to because I didn't think it was necessarily so positive for me, and yet it was making me feel really good, like put a little pep in my step. So I was kind of like grappling with that a little bit, and like I'm not talking about like really bad stuff. There was a lot in playlists, so like it wasn't like that bad of music. I don't think it was anything anyone would be like appalled at. And I generally find that Latin music is a lot more kosher, if you will, like a little bit more so than like mainstream music nowadays. Just because like Latin Americans definitely have more of like a multi-generational culture. So I find that that sort of lends to a little bit cleaner lyrics in general. So, you know, this stuff wasn't so bad, but you know, just like I was really feeling it. So I was like, you know what, let me listen to some music I haven't heard in a while, you know, just from my own playlist. So I decided to pop on some more songs and just kind of started listening to the music I used to listen to. And I was like totally into it, and it was fun, and it was, like I said, it put a pep in my step, and it made me feel like, oh shoot, I really miss this music, like that, this is so me, like this is totally like right up my lane. These are things I used to listen to on repeat all the time, and I was just like totally feeling it. And then it was just like, you know, I just really struggled with that topic. Or it was just this whole idea of like, you know, what is kosher music? What type of music should we be listening to and not be listening to? And, you know, it just really, it's tough because a lot of the music I used to listen to, admittedly, you know, it was like hip hop and rap and like kind of like a lot of hardcore stuff. So I feel like, you know, obviously like a lot of the music, I mean, a lot of the lyrics were definitely not kosher, not tzniut, a lot of like sex and drugs and money, power, respect, just a lot of negative vibes. So, you know, it's definitely something I have intentionally left behind. And yet I'm listening to stuff, and, you know, obviously music like speaks to your soul. It's like cultural, it's so, you know, social, and, you know, there is a component of that which can really resonate with you. So, you know, I felt very at odds with like this sort of mismatch here. And I don't know, I guess I wanted to talk about this because I think that refraining from certain forms of entertainment is something that, you know, in sort of the Jewish community is something that unfortunately gets very gets a lot of like negative bias against, you know, just the idea of not, you know, partaking in, I guess, idol entertainment. And it is something that I really appreciate as, you know, part of the Jewish lifestyle, you know, as part of like Torah-centric living and aspiring to have a Torah-centric lifestyle, I think does very much lend to leaving some of those negative forms of entertainment behind. But when we talk about this stuff, I think it's really often discussed as sort of like something against like the Haredi community, for example. Like, you know, the Hasidim and Haredi community, they don't, you know, like they don't go to the movies, for example, they don't watch TV, and they certainly don't listen to this kind of music. So I think for that reason, unfortunately, there's a lot of, it's used as kind of like a backlash against like, oh, you shouldn't live like that, you shouldn't do that, that's so extreme. But, you know, essentially that's kind of the attitude I've been adopting as of late. And like, I don't actually have a TV. I went through a bit of a like minimalist purge, so I won't try to act like it was, you know, me doing something for spiritual reasons, but, you know, I really did just kind of want to cleanse myself and purge a little bit. So I got rid of my TV. And, you know, I've never been like a crazy TV person or anything, and not really like crazy into entertainment. So I know that makes me sound like a very like boring person or whatever, but I'm just like really into edutainment. And so like, I mean, I consume quite a bit of digital content, but for me, it's generally educational materials. I would say like 80% of what I watch on YouTube, like I said, I'm like mostly on YouTube for, you know, for most of it's YouTube, and then a few podcasts here and there. But I'd say like 80% I'm listening to like different shirim on your YouTube of like different rabbis. I'm like Rabbi 𝗪𝗪𝗏 is somebody I really like. I listen to a lot of like Rabbi Yom Tov, who teaches out of Aish in Jerusalem, and then like Rabbi Mendel Kessin, so a bunch of rabbis. It's like 80% of what I'm listening to. I think we're living in a really amazing era where we can learn so much through YouTube and so much through digital content, so I definitely soak all that up. And then another 20% or so of what I consume on YouTube and just in terms of digital content is about spirituality and or science, so that I can basically learn about these things as part of my process of learning and understanding Torah and understanding God and the universe and all that stuff. So that's generally what I'm consuming. And I, you know, like I said, I never was like a big person in like movies and TV. I've definitely like, you know, gone through certain series that I've gotten into, and, you know, I've obviously been to the movies and stuff, but, you know, it's not actually that hard for me to leave that stuff behind. So, you know, I can definitely appreciate why, you know, it's not so healthy per se for us to consume too much of that stuff, what we would really kind of call like, let's be real and like call it what it is, which is idol entertainment. So I try not to partake of that stuff. In Judaism, sometimes we talk about it as like eating the bread of idleness. and you know, I try not to eat that bread. So anyway, I've been refraining from essentially secular entertainment, and you know, I just want to talk about this and share this topic because like I said, I don't think it's fair that we usually use this issue as something of like a backlash against the more right-wing, more observant communities in Judaism. And I think that's very unfair because there's something very aspirational, and there's something very positive about that too. And you know, I think, like, let's be real, how often do we use entertainment as a way of distracting ourselves from living like real life, or you know, dealing with our problems or whatever it is? And I think there's just a very negative aspect to a lot of this idle entertainment that we partake in, and we could definitely, at the least, even if you're not cutting it out entirely, I do very much firmly believe we could do with a lot less of it than, you know, what the average person currently consumes. So anyway, so you know, just a long-winded way of saying that I have definitely taken the measures to eliminate these more like idle forms of entertainment from my life. Like 3 or 4 months ago, before I was like actually super into Bravo Housewives, and that is like my super like trashy entertainment, like, you know, that was like my guilty pleasure, right? So I was especially into Housewives of Atlanta and Potomac were like my favorite ones. So I was super into that stuff, and I will admit I totally miss it, and I'm not necessarily committing here, I'm like never gonna watch it again, but I've definitely refrained from it, and I haven't watched it in quite so many months. But you know, like, talk about lashon hara, like there's a lot of negative stuff that happens on all that, you know, on all that media. So I don't think it's very healthy, and I definitely feel a lot cleaner and a lot, you know, in a better headspace for not soaking up some of those like negative vibes. And you know, another thing that we learn about is, you know, in sort of like this more, I guess this more, I hate to say right wing, this more religiously observant space, is that there's really this kind of like klipa, like a negative shell, a spiritual energy around digital devices and digital media, and it just really clamps us up a little bit, and it doesn't free up the mind to be in like basically a more positive vibrational state, to be able to learn and use your brain for, you know, just active thinking and learning, and you know, all the good stuff we're supposed to actually be using it for. So I do think there's, like I said, a lot of space for us to step a little bit, you know, away from these more negative forms of media. So I just want to give you like a little bit of a sampling of the type of music I used to listen to. I'm going to do my best to kind of cut out some of the bad stuff so it's not so, you know, non-snute for you guys, but I wanted to basically illustrate the sort of sound that I, you know, personally really like when it comes to my taste in music. Here goes. Okay, so that's one of them. Okay, I cut a good amount out of it, but like that whole song is not snute at all. I could not avoid it at all in that song. It's like smattered with bad words. Okay, so that is the kind of sound that I like, and I have to say that is not the kind of music I have been listening to lately in an effort to be a lot, you know, just keeping my headspace a lot more pure. I have generally refrained from listening to, you know, my old music essentially, and I guess just to give you a taste of the sort of stuff I'm listening to lately, you know, I'm trying to turn on like Jewish music, and I've definitely found some good stuff. I have come to love Yonina, for example, who is like a really adorable husband-wife couple, and they have like gorgeous voices. So let me just play a little snippet from that. So I love that. I think they're so cute, and obviously singing about Mashiach and Emunah is a lot cleaner and a lot more kosher than all the nasty stuff in my preferred sounds of music. So I really struggle with this, you guys. I mean, obviously, like, it's just like night and day, the type of like vibe that I'm getting from these different types of music. And obviously there's, you know, like Jewish, like hip hop, there's 𝗪𝗪𝗥𝗧 and all that stuff, but I don't know, it's just not really my vibe. And like, you guys can tell from the music that I used to listen to that it definitely has a certain energy, a certain vibe, and like a certain style that I'm just finding missing from sort of the more kosher, Jewishly, like just more kosher, clean options. So, you know, I think that it's really tough because, you know, especially music is something that really connects to your energy or connects to your soul. And, you know, like I said, just listening to some of my own music put a pep in my step today, and it felt so authentically me. And it's not that the lyrics are what I'm attached to. I'm definitely not. I could go without the misogyny and all the sexual stuff. Like, I could definitely drop that. But the music itself, like that beat, that sound, like I just kind of need that back in my life, and I wish I could find that in a more like, you know, properly, you know, just a more kosher way. And, you know, if I had a bunch of money to throw at the problem, I swear I would hire all these artists and ask them to just make a beautiful album full of nigun or something, but, you know, it doesn't exist. And so that just really sucks, and it's hard to be able to have to make that choice essentially between, you know, how do I keep my head a clean, pure space so that I can dedicate, you know, keep my energy focused and clean for Hashem while still feeling authentic to what I like and enjoy, and still, you know, being able to like take away the benefits of music. Because at the end of the day, I listen to that stuff and I'm like, I'm like into it, and my energy shifts, and it's, you know, in a very positive, good way. So, you know, I wish we could kind of make sense of these things and find like a good balance, but, you know, maybe more like Jewish creatives, Jewish artists just need to step up and make some good sounds like that. I don't know why it's missing, and I mean, I guess I sort of do. Like, I can understand why, you know, there's a bit of a discrepancy culturally and socially from that kind of sound that I'm looking for in sort of like the Jewish space. But I wish that wasn't the case. You know, I understand that sort of hip hop, you know, and that kind of music comes from, you know, the urban scene, and like why, you know, why all that kind of came to be. There's a whole history behind that. But at the end of the day, I think there's plenty enough of us Jews who love that style, who like those beats and like want that kind of sounding music, but would really appreciate some like cleaner energy around it. So like, I wish I could just ask like Cardi, put on some clothes and just, you know, like give me a nice like kosher album, and just, you know, like I just wish there were artists available for me to listen to that sort of brought that kind of same style and energy, but, you know, just kept it good and clean. So I just wanted to kind of throw this out into the universe, and hopefully some more, like I said, more Jewish artists will step up and produce some of this music for us. And if you guys happen to know of any sounds, like any sort of artists and music that sound a little bit more like what I shared, but is, you know, tzniut friendly, kosher, like good, clean lyrics, like please drop it in the comments so I can check it out. Like I said, I know, like, I feel like 𝗪𝗪𝗥𝗧 is the only like Jewish hip hop artist I know of, but like, I don't know, just like, it's not really my style. So anyway, drop me some suggestions. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and definitely subscribe. I'm trying to grow this channel, so hopefully I'll share some more cohesive content, but maybe you got something out of this conversation, and I will see you guys in the next one.
Whoa, yeah, swear to God I'm with it. I don't see nobody in my lane, it's quite go get it like me.